All right, here we go. Hello, guys. It's RPG with DBJ. Hello out there, creatives and community and kind folks. Today we are going to allow ourselves to go off. Um, Part of this week, I decided to do a whole theme on psionics. And before I allow my co-host to introduce himself, I was trying to figure out, okay, because I don't back down from a challenge. I was like, okay, psionics, like we know about in games and mental abilities and things. So how do we translate that onto Tips and Tricks Tuesday? Like it's tips and tricks is kind of like an out of game kind of thing. So I thought I would talk about the one thing, the skills that we could learn that are extremely undefined, and that's synergy and empathy and energy at the table. So without further ado, let me introduce my co-host today. Please go ahead, sir. Take it away.
Hi guys, Happy Gamer here, and you all know me from this channel. And yesterday I restarted my channel and posted a video up. I mean, if you want, I'm gonna say subscribe to me just for that video and every Monday's video, because they're a lot more. Monday's videos are a lot more personal to me, and they cover a lot more of the real life issues that we all face, such as yesterday I was discussing failure and what it is to quit something or give it up. So please go and subscribe and like it and share it with people who could use it.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, please check out RP. And by the way, his older ramblings are on there. They're actually kind of cool. I like the bird preserve, man. Anyway, so okay, let's get a little more specific. Like, what are we talking about with like using synergy or energy, empathy at the table? All right, so we are all going to try to like define some of these things, and I will tell you what came through my mind when it came up, because if you guys know me, I tend to do things by the seat of the pants. So I was like, man, what can I think about? So Vince, as usual, said something in the chat the other day, and he said, number one, you're playing a game, you're playing an adventurer, right? Your job is to adventure. Because we were talking about making characters that don't want to do anything. And he said the other part is we're playing a game with other people. And sometimes I think we forget, we get caught up in the creative process, and in our own minds, we have not just one world, we have a multitude of worlds and dimensions or planes or whatever you want to call it, images in our head of what we want to see, what we want to do, what we want to encounter. But the problem is that we are interacting with other people. Role-playing games do not operate unless you're playing a single-player role-playing game, which is very rare, or you're interacting with someone else and you're interacting with other people. And so the first rule is that it's not about you. It never is about you. It's about us. It's about all of us, and all of us having, trying to have fun at the table, and at the minimum, not getting in the way of other people having fun. So I think as far as a synergy is just being able to feel or flow or move, interact in a level where you can act or react without having to be prodded so much. You almost feel what else is going on. I guess an out of game synergy would be you're at a sporting stadium, and I don't know how this is across the world, but I know here in the U.S. Somebody will do the stadium flow where people start to stand, and then you wait until it's your turn to stand up, and then you just get this flow of the crowd all the way around the stadium in one big giant ring or something, and everyone wants to be in that synergistic method where you make this, you stand up and you raise your hands, and you make this wave, and if you stand up too early, it ruins it. And if you don't stand up at all, it's like you're a party poop, but you want to be part of that crowd. And so that's, to me, outside of role-playing game, I guess that's my example of like being in a synergistic environment. So go ahead, RP, because I know you want to yell at me or make fun of me.
Yeah, over here we call that the Mexican wave. I'm not really sure why, but it's known as the Mexican wave, where you all just stand up, and when everyone's involved and it is in a big stadium like that, it looks awesome. But when it's like 5 of you doing it, it doesn't really have the same effect.
Right, exactly. And exactly, like if it's you 5 guys stand up and everyone's just like, nah, it looks funny, and they're going like, please come on, join in here. I'm having fun, you guys join in. But it also makes them look a little lonely, right? It kind of defeats their energy, like, oh, I can't believe they didn't do it, But when you really see it, I mean, when a crowd is really into it and they do it great, I mean, it looks awesome. Something else that I love to see in hockey, they have there's a tradition of people bringing stuffed animals to the hockey ring, and then at a certain point in the game, because the stuffed animals are donated to like children's hospitals and things, and at a certain point in the game, everybody opens up their plastic bags, just starts throwing stuffed animals out on the ice. And if you're way in the way back, right, you're in the 3rd tier and beyond, right, there's no way for you to throw the stuffed animal by the leg out onto the ice. So everybody where the stuffed animals hits them on the head, they pick up those stuffed animals and they continue to throw them down until they hit the ice. And it's just like, you have to YouTube it, right? You have to see it. But my whole point is that it's like, it's a collective where everyone agrees that this is what we're going to do. We're all going to have fun, and we're going to take, each person accepts the responsibility of taking their turn to be part of it, and then sitting down to let other people have their turn so that it all looks good together. If you see where I'm heading, right?
I want to say it's like the good side of mob mentality. Where we used to hearing about like mob mentality being when everyone riots at the same time, but doing a Mexican wave or something, it's kind of like the good side of mob mentality where everyone wants to be part of the group, and
yep.
You get that one guy who doesn't, and just
exactly. I mean, even let's take videos of we can go a little serious. Let's take videos of car accidents and bus accidents and things like that, and people will work together to flip a car over or open up a car door or move a car because someone's trapped underneath it, because the only way to lift the car is if everyone works together in a team. And you get the traditional, okay, on the count of 3, right? And then you get that one person's like, okay, do we go on 3 or do we go on 2 and then push on 3? Do we go on 0? Are we counting backwards? Like, and everyone else is like, what? Like, no, just like, what are you doing? Like, no, work with everybody else. And so, but when you see it done right, when everyone's just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and you see them like shove the burning car off of the person and someone else drags them out from underneath it or whatever. And it just looks like this amazing thing where everyone's working together. I think there's been videos of someone drowning at sea, and like 30 people make one long human chain link on the shore to reach out to a person that's like, floundering in the ocean or something like that. And that's where you said mob, like the mob works together because they want to see the mob succeed as opposed to just being this one person fuddy dud that wants to fold their arms and not be part of what's going on.
And that's kind of what a party is, just on a smaller scale. You have to have everybody going along the same lines, or if you've got that one, especially in a smaller group, that one guy who doesn't want to do it is more noticeable.
Yeah.
Than the one guy in the who misses out the Mexican wave. You've still got the rest of them going around doing it, but that one rogue sat in the corner not wanting to go anywhere or anything, it's a big part of the party, really.
Yeah, and that's where you hear that all-time excuse, that's not what my character would do. And it's like, well, in my mind, I'm going, well, your character's not an AI. Like, it doesn't act on its own. You didn't write the piece of paper and a piece of paper walks around the table. You're choosing you're choosing to act in a manner, or choosing to make decisions for your character that acts in a manner that's not conducive to the game. And of course, is that metagaming? Like, if my dwarf doesn't swim but the adventure is to go on a boat, am I metagaming? Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, go on the adventure. That's your job, to go on the adventure. Now, after deciding to go on the adventure, now rationalize what's going on. Role play your character taking forever to walk up the gangplank, or role play your character getting drunk first before going on the ship, or complaining the entire time about the fact that he can't swim and hates water and dwarves shouldn't be on ships or something, or make up a reason like the only reason I'm going is because is to protect you guys or something, and trying to have this false bravado or something. Or maybe one of the other player characters steps in to convince your character to go because they're best friends or something, and tell him to close his eyes and take a deep breath or something. And that's where the synergy and the empathy comes in, where maybe another player character or characters feel the desire. They know that here's a situation, right? The dwarf doesn't want to go on the adventure. The DM literally pulls out an adventure module that says visit the Isle of Dread or whatever, and the other player characters jump in knowing that the dwarf has to go. The player knows he has to go, but it's like, well, my character doesn't swim. We've had 5 games together. He doesn't like to be on boats. How can I rationalize this? And then just going along with the flow, so that we all know where we're going. We all know the end result. Get to the damn island. Right? The DM sitting back like twiddling his thumbs and rolling his eyes like, please, are we going to spend 5 hours trying to figure out how to get on this boat? Or are we going to collectively decide to get on the boat, and then, like a wave in the crowd, each of us plays our part to get there, deciding how we get there in different manners, right? You know what I mean? And sure, are we role playing ourselves getting on this boat and having trouble getting on? Sure. But choosing not to go, it's like, well, what other game master are you playing with? Where if you're at the table, the game master says, hey, we've got this island adventure, I think you'll love it. Visit the Isle of Cholt or something for Tomb of Annihilation or something, and you decide not to go. If you're playing with a group of people, you're the outsider who's decided that some other fictitious game master is going to run another game for you while you fold your arms and stay at the tavern while everyone else gets on the boat and goes to the island.
I think I've said this before, but when a player did that with me and was outright refusing to go, saying their character wouldn't join up with the group, I basically just said, well, right, there you go then. We're going to go on the adventure. You can sit there and sit in the bar and just roll for the next 2 hours. You can role play yourself having drinks. There you go.
I mean, right. Yep. Even Vince says you can still play your character, but you also need to be in the adventure. Play however you like, but it's your job to stay with the group and go on the adventure. Nobody has to motivate you. And that's exactly right. Is it air quotes out of game knowledge that that the dungeon master brings the island adventure and your job is to go? Yes, we all know that, but whatever. Let's move past that point. Go on the adventure, make a character that wants to go on adventures, and then go. There's nothing worse than a player that's like, hey, I've got this great character idea, and you're like, oh, cool, man, we've got this desert landscape. What kind of character did you bring? And you're like, well, I brought a tavern owner. Wait, what? No, this guy, he owns a tavern and he just makes the best drinks, and like he's an alchemist and he just makes these bizarre drinks and he owns a business. Like, okay, so, okay, good idea. So why does he want to go on this desert journey? It's like, well, he doesn't. Wait, what? Wait, okay. We already discussed that we're going to do this like desert journey, Persian, Arabian Nights flavored kind of thing. Like everyone else has created a guy. Why did you create this tavern owner? I thought it would be a good idea to make one. And you're like, yeah, but not in this game. Your character idea is good, not in this game, right? So, like me, I'm my mother favorite thing are movies, and we've all heard of movies where you get like one actor that doesn't fit in with everybody else. Like they've got a chip on their shoulder. They want more spotlight time. They're arguing with other people. They could be the greatest actor in the world, but if they don't have any synergy with the other people they're acting with, they're actually useless for that movie. No matter how great of an actor they are individually, if they can't get along with other people, it could ruin the movie. So, yeah, I'm going to go off.
Because I mean, I think it stems from the fact that a lot of players like the idea of being that what's the word, being the hero that doesn't want to actually be the hero, but they take it that step too far. They think that they can refuse, and the DM will do everything they can to get them in the adventure. Whereas if you refuse too much, the DM will just say no.
Well, that's where the energy comes from. I think it's not the GM's or the DM's job to motivate you to make you do something. That's where you, as a player, it's our job to pick up the baton, as you would. I'm trying to think of different similes or here metaphors or whatnot, but like when the DM is having a hard time, and you can almost feel this if you just are sensitive to it. You can feel the DM is trying to cultivate the players, like, hey guys, let's get motivated to go on this adventure, whether it's going onto the island or exploring the desert or having this political maneuverings or whatever the case may be. It's our function as players to say, you know what, the DM shouldn't have to spend they already have enough energy trying to herd cats with everybody at the table. Let me not make it worse by creating yet another problem and putting it on the table. Let me grab the reins. Let me grab that hook of the adventure. Let me come up with a reason why I'm going. Let me be that person that wants to be involved, and yet shape it in a way that doesn't break my character's mold. There are plenty plenty of examples of books and movies and comic books and TV shows where you have that reluctant guy, that person that doesn't want to be involved, the soldier that doesn't want to pick up the gun anymore, or the sword any longer, or the nerdy scientist that doesn't want to be involved in the gunfight or whatever. And 99% of the time, there are circumstances that motivate them to go along, whether they are, hey, scientist is like, I best stay next to the guy with the gun because that's the safest place to be. And the person's running after the big burly, John Wick type dude, while the nerdy guy's grabbing his books and computer and running after him or something, or the quote unquote damsel in distress that's always like hanging on the back of the hero as the hero like tries to cut his way through the enemy or something. There's always a reason why the reluctant hero joins in. Lastly, why did I forget his name? Aragorn hiding in the, Aragorn the ranger hiding in the corner in the dark with his cloak up, sees the hobbits in, and guess what he does? I better meet up with these hobbits that are coming into this bar. Why are they here? They're going to be taken advantage of and get their ass kicked. I'm going to join them and figure out what the hell they want. You know what I mean? He's the reluctant hero, but he decides to go on the journey and take responsibility, even though he's rolling his eyes the whole time. Like, they don't know what they're doing. I better help them because otherwise they're going to get in trouble. There's always a reason to get involved in adventure.
Yeah, you basically just said that even if you, as a player, can't think of a reason there and then why your character won't get involved, arrogance is a great reason. Ego, like I'm the best at doing this, so I'm going to come along and show you how it's done. That's probably the easiest reason to give for going along to something.
Yeah, back I was talking about making the tavern owner going on a desert adventure. Alex C says wrong place, wrong time, and that can be a problem too. And that's where that session zero, the idea of session zero comes in, where you may have a great character concept, but the rest of us created characters for this adventure. The tavern owner might be great in, let's say, an urban adventure, but maybe this time we're doing our desert adventure. So, instead, why don't you make a jackal person or something, or a giant scorpion rider instead of the tavern owner, unless you want to make a tavern owner who has an excuse to go on the adventure and then hilarity ensues and whatnot. Vince says, I personally am the kind of guy who wants to play unique stuff, which involves things which are not normal adventurers. And he goes on to say, it took me quite a while to learn the basic principle to build an adventurer, no matter how weird the character build is. And in West Haven, because you guys can check that out from Red Dice Diaries channel. Anyway, in Rose of West Haven, I'm playing a demon in the body of a young man, so it's mostly a story thing. I don't have stat bonuses and don't even look weird. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you can create unique things for your character, because everyone wants to be like, be a special snowflake. They want to express their creativity, but it shouldn't come at a disadvantage to everyone else. It shouldn't drain the spotlight. You shouldn't be the one person that everyone has to stop what they're doing to coax along, to drag along on the adventure. Come up with reasons to be along, to be in that synergistic mold. If you've ever seen like American SWAT or Green Beret Special Forces guys, they do. If you ever see documentaries and such, these guys work together without needing to say much, by using hand signals, or when they breach rooms or doors or go into places when they train, so that you don't have that one person who's dangling on the outside, who's got their arms folded or wants to sit down and drink while everybody else does something. You don't want to be the outsider because the weak link, you don't want to be the weak link to break that chain. Alex says, bad thing about snowflakes, they melt pretty fast when things heat up. Oh, I need a t-shirt.
And you can actually discuss that in session 0. If you want to play the reluctant hero, if you want to play the guy who sits in the corner of the bar who needs to be convinced to go, discuss that in session 0. Then the GM can have time to think up of extra reasons why you'd want to go, maybe side rewards, stuff like that. Or the other players can come up with ideas of why you'd want to go.
Yeah.
Don't just spring it on them on session 1.
Yeah, and like you said, it would bring that up in session 0. I've had plenty of times when someone will say, "Hey guys, I'm making," like you said, "I'm making this I don't know, book smart character who just wants to, stay in the tower and read books." And they mention that in session 0 to say, "Hey, I'm playing a reluctant character, but I'm going to go on the adventure anyway," and let people know what's coming up. So maybe the burly barbarian takes a fondness to this young kid with all these books that are bringing these quote unquote useless books on this adventure, and maybe they become, fast friends or something. Or maybe the book smart person starts getting obsessed with like looking at the foliage in the jungle, and everyone's like, "Come on, buddy, don't worry about that. We've got to keep on moving, trudging through this sludge." And he's just like, "I want to see the pretty animals," or something. If you bring that up beforehand, you bring that up in session 0 and say, "Hey, this is this is this is," or they fall in love. Yeah, hey, why not, man? And you can even bring those kind of things up in session 0 too, but it's getting together, talking about what kind of characters you have, what the adventure will be about, what the themes are, what everyone expects from the game. Hey, are we just going to be, are we going to have a lot of, chuckle fuckery, or are we just going to make this super serious? I mean, you could decide that right up front. Hey, listen, this is just going to be beer and pretzels. Like, we're just going to have fun. Don't take it serious. A lot of jokes. Long as it doesn't distract too much from the role playing, we're just going to, don't worry about it. Just have some die rolls and we're just going to have fun. Whereas others may say, listen, we're playing, I pulled out my Vampire 20th edition, and we're going to light the red and black candles, and we're going to let the wax drip and dark lighting and the moves, everything. Bring your darkest cloak with you. You're going to need it, bring your break out the old gothic outfits, because we're going to take this extremely seriously. You can decide that up front. And if you choose to be in that kind of situation, then bring the energy and have that empathy and synergy with everyone else, even if it's outside your comfort zone. If you're choosing to be in a beer and pretzels game, but you're trying to force your seriousness on everyone else, it's not going to work at all. If you say, "Hey, this is the game I'm going to be in, this is the kind of theme we're going to go with," then at the minimum, don't detract from everyone else. But really what you want to do is you want to add to it. Have some fun. Make some jokes, because everyone else is making jokes, even though internally you're like, "Nah, I prefer a more serious game." That kind of thing. Bring a chicken and some flour.
I mean, if you as the GM haven't specified the tone of the game or what it's going to be about, then it's partly your fault if the players don't go along with it. That's how I see it. If you haven't fully explained properly, then it's partly your fault that the players don't understand and have come with the wrong mindset.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Vince says, I think oftentimes it's hard for players to know what they want. That's the problem. I'm working in church with teenagers, and it's super hard to ask them what they want. They simply don't know most of the time. I even taught some of them role playing, and that this is a weird thing to say because we don't want to. None of us are psychologists or psychiatrists of any level, but sometimes we need to know ourselves first before we start trying to interact with other people. Like, what do we really want out of the game, and what do we really want to do? And I don't mean like, hey, I want my character to kill stuff. It's like sometimes you get off work and you're just pissed. You're pissed at customers you have to deal with. You're pissed at your coworkers. You're pissed at your boss. So when you sit down at the table, now all you want to do is just kill stuff. And if you don't know that's inside of you, right, and you start the game and the game's like, okay, guys, well, we're going to go back to the king and we're just going to do this little social interaction at the party. And then you're inside of you, you're burning like, oh, I just want to kill something. Like, oh, I just want to swing my sword. That can come across to everybody else as you're trying to provoke fights. You're just grabbing dice. You're trying to kill commoners and stuff. That can be something that will really, it can drain the energy, or you'll be that outsider when everyone else is like, why is he being disruptive to the table when, the rest of us are trying to role play and he's trying to have a fight. If you don't know those things, or you don't bring that up, or you don't mention it beforehand, then in many ways that's kind of like your fault. Before the game starts, just mention, hey guys, you know what? If you don't mind, I'd really like to have, at least one big combat in here, if you don't mind, or even bow out. Hey, you know what? I just had a really bad day at work. I'm not really going to be able to bring the energy you guys want. But somebody role play my character, or let my character sit in the corner or something like that, fade to the background. I mean, just being able to know yourself, I think, is a big tool before you start interacting heavily with other people, and why it is maybe you feel like you're an outsider within our own RPG group, because we're all geeks. So I don't understand how one geek can be an outsider amongst other geeks, unless our behavior is causing some kind of friction.
Yeah, never force yourself to do things you don't really want to do. Not for the sake of a game. It's not worth it.
Yeah, too. Alex says you can help others with what you already know. I know that's in reference to to 2E, but it's like, if you sometimes like in a game, somebody will say things to you like okay, no, let's go to some practical things, because I in my mind I just thought of some practical tools. I was reading the chat, but something, and I can't remember where I read this. I want to say it was the Angry DM, but maybe it was Sly Flourish. But whatever the case may be, one thing someone brought up was, at every game, have your character ask an open-ended question of another player character at least once. So if you have 3 players, you have one DM and 3 players, and they're playing their characters. If each of those players asks the other person a question, you've got at least, you have a triumvirate of at least 6 interactions that will continue the story of the player characters. And ask something that's open-ended. Because if you do that and you reference something that the other players did, you are giving you're cementing their actions. You're acknowledging their importance in the game. And it could be something as simple as, where did you learn to study magic? Or, that sword has great workmanship. Where did you get it from? Where did you get that scar? Or, I noticed you were hesitant around spiders. Or was there something that happened to you in the past? Or any little thing that happened in the game to allow the other person to then answer that open-ended question and then respond to whatever they say, right? Because there's nothing worse than having a player character in the game and then kind of being ignored. It's like, I cast a spell and everyone's like, great. Okay, thanks for casting the spell. As opposed to like, oh wow, being amazed by it, or the monk that kicks ass and everyone's just like, great, okay, you're the monk, good, okay. It's better if you bring energy to them, so that hopefully they will recognize that you're giving energy to them and they will bring that energy back to you, because it's the social contract. We're agreeing to be a part of this, so join in. Join in.
And as the GM, to expand on that, all make sure the majority of the party are involved in every scene. It doesn't have to be the same people.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't even have to be the same exact questions. It doesn't have to be a form, a form letter or something. Alex C says, ask a DM or GM to bring up a fight to release some tension. Sometimes just killing things helps in game. Exactly. I mean, now it doesn't necessarily mean every single. Let me take this back. It doesn't mean that every time you ask this, the DM absolutely positively must put this in there. If you keep coming to the table and go, hey DM, I want to kill an ogre, it's like, don't be that specific and don't be that asinine. But if you bring up the fact that, hey, maybe you had a tough time with a family member, or today was just especially hard on you today, or creatively you just couldn't think of something, or what have you, just if you express those things and that's inside of you, even if you don't express it to someone else, at least understand that your behavior, so that you can control your own behavior, so you don't detract from someone else. Like I said, at the minimum, you should never be in the way of somebody else's fun. So if the party wants to go left and you just want to be a contrarian and always want to go right, you're the problem, right? You're the one who's not synergizing with the group. Now, sure, you could say, hey, listen, I'm playing a character who is a contrarian. But then maybe you should have brought that up in session 0 to let everybody know, hey, my character is going to be argumentative. Role play with it and roll with it. I'm still going to go along with everyone else. You know what I mean? Wolverine and Deadpool are like the ultimate in the individuals, the lone wolf or whatever, but they always find a reason to be in a group with other people. Wolverine's always adopting some kind of kid or lost soul or whatever. Wolverine's always doing the, well, I better go along routine or something. So yeah, it's just coming up with the reason why you go along with the group, and not being that person that wants to drain the spotlight from everyone because you want to fold your arms, or you want to fight when everyone else is trying to talk or something like that. And lastly, Alex C says being ignored sucks, especially when you're you're at the table. Sometimes it's the other way around. Spotlight also sucks. Yes, if you're shy, or maybe you don't want the spotlight on you, maybe you had some kind of like you got some kind of bad news, whether it was some big financial downsize or something that you heard about, or you lost a family member or something, but you really want to F and G, I get it. You are you really don't want the spotlight on you, then I think it behooves you to let people know that, to like say, you know what, guys, normally I'm really, I know I'm outgoing, so I'm just not feeling it, but I really want to hang with you guys. So if it's okay, I really would prefer not to have the spotlight on me. If you, I know it's very hard for us geeky types to express ourselves, but believe me, if someone said that before the game started, then that explains that is basically like, thanks for letting me know. Now the next 2 to 4 hours, we're not worrying why it is you're sitting in the background. You know what I mean? We're not sitting back trying to draw you into the game as this person's like, oh, I don't really want to be involved. I don't really want to be the bard. I know I'm playing the bard, but do I have to keep talking? If you know this person's going through something, they say it up front. You know what? Okay, I get it. Thanks. Now you're not sitting there like a lump draining away everything. I'm sorry, I read reading the chat. Dead Man the Storyteller, Dopinder the cab driver in Deadpool. Yeah, who finds a reason to go along with the adventure, and Deadpool finds a reason to call him up over and over again, taking his cab and having a discussion with Dopinder, the cab driver. Like, there's a reason, rather ridiculously, that Deadpool likes himself some Dopinder, but again, hey, here's Deadpool drawing in the first level character who's got his taxi cab into the 8th level adventure of the superheroes. It's just a thing where drawing people in, stepping back, knowing ourselves, knowing what we want, understanding, like, sometimes it depends on the game even. Hey, I'm a fan of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, but I know it's not conducive to, the mechanics aren't conducive to a Game of Thrones style adventure. Yeah, DBJ, we're doing a Fantasy Grounds today. Yes. Yes. Okay. Fat Ninja DM mentions Fantasy Grounds. He is one of a number of people part of Fantasy Grounds College, and today, myself, Alex, Rob, all of us in Critical Hit Publishing are going to get together, and we're going to do an open demonstration of Fantasy Grounds using one of our critical hit books, Mountains from Cinematic Environment. So that's kind of cool. And yes, now I wasn't sure if we were going to broadcast it, but sounds like you don't mind, so we'll talk about it. And it'll probably be after I get off work, which fingers crossed it'll be before 8. Friggin' coworkers who have no synergy with me. Never mind. I could go off of that for hours. Hours. I mean, yeah, I love the money, but I can't stand it. They call in. When they do show up, they're lackluster. Boss only knows what to expect from me. There's no synergy at work at all. So anyway, back to the subject at hand. I guess the hard part about what we are talking about altogether, and the kind of the subject I wanted to bring up about synergy and energy and empathy, is it's very hard to describe it as a skill because so many other things are. Thanks, Vince. We're here for you, man. Some of the hardest things to describe really are like, it's easy to say, hey, be prepared with your character, or I don't know, show up on time, and all those little things. But I think it's important, but it's also hard to define what it means to have empathy at the table, to bring energy to the table.
I think a lot of the time you either have empathy and the energy to give, or you don't. It's not really something you can gel as a team, you can gel as friends, as a group, but if you've not got a basic empathy for people, then it's not really gonna come about. I mean, the problem is being online now is Vincent having to correct me. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of, with being online, you're kind of seeing all these groups that play together, that play well together, and because your group isn't quite doing that, it's kind of a bit disheartening when your own group's not performing.
Yeah, I think like you're talking about empathy in the chat. You know, like Vince says, empathy can be learned. Sure, you have different moods, but empathy is still a skill mostly. Alex even kind of adds to it by saying some are gradual, others is like snaps. Basically, like, you know, sometimes it takes a little longer to gel together. Sometimes it's instant, but a good sense of empathy, if you watch some gaming groups, is, for example, let's say one or more of the players throws a curveball at the DM, and he's running the game. The game master's running the game, and players throw a curveball, and you sense you empathically feel that the game master needs time to think about what to do next. So instead of doing a hard stop and calling the DM out on it, what happens is you'll see other players start to role play amongst themselves to give the DM time to think, continue the game, and do it with a synergy so it doesn't disrupt, so it just keeps going on. So you'll see games, if you see some really good games like Absolute Tabletop, the Provokers, you'll see where they'll throw a curveball at Matt Click, and then you'll see them all start to role play together to allow time for the game master. Okay, let me see what I'm going to do. I'm thinking in my head. All right, okay, and then they'll say, "Okay, guys, listen, blah blah. You hear this thing? This thing comes around the corner or whatever." And being able to pick up the ball when your game master is maybe having some trouble, or is trying to find something in their notes, or is pulling another player aside, so then you, instead of you just stopping and folding your arms, you start interacting with other people. Maybe you can tell the game master's trying to give you an opportunity to role play together, the classic sitting around the campfire to talk a little bit, and then for you to pick up the ball, and just be part of it. Yeah, Fat Ninja says, "Oh, watch out, DBJ angst incoming." Yeah, I used to do a lot of rant videos, man. I mean, I used to, you know, put a big label up like you know, warning, you know, rant coming. Vince says, if you just met with a group of randos, it's going to be a lot harder. I know, but still can be done. Just try to be interested in them outside of the game too. I says, ruh-roh, don't make me go into my my Scooby-Doo. Don't, because I can do a pretty good Scooby-Doo. Yeah, it's just like, sometimes there are things that, like, it's like common sense, you know, it's not common and doesn't make sense. Sometimes I can rail against, like, oh, guys, work together. Don't do that. Don't do the hard stop. Don't stop the energy flowing by, like, you calling out someone's mistakes, or calling out someone's deficiencies, or overcorrecting people all the time, or being a well actually, of which I have a video of that. Don't be a well actually either. Don't be that person that likes to overcorrect other people and step on their toes, or things like that. Just be part of the game and pick up the ball when someone else is being a little bit, maybe they're a little uncomfortable interacting with the group, or they're like, you know, they're a newbie and they want to be part of the group, and you invite them in, you embrace them. You know, you you hug them with your digital arms or whatever, and bring them into the circle instead of rolling your eyes whenever they attempt to use their wizard abilities, and you've done it for 30 years and you know better than them. And nobody wants to be around that guy. That's why rules lawyers and the well actuallys and the canonites are hated and stuff. Yeah. Oh, I was an only child for many years, and I used to do all the 80s cartoons, all of them. I could do, the Woody Woodpeckers and the Popeyes and yeah, I could, man, oh, don't, I'm going to have to do a video where I just do all the voices and stuff. I just, yeah, maybe one day, maybe, I don't know if I'm up to it right now. I just remember having fun on the phone. That was a thing. That's what us old people used to do on the phones before the internet. We used to make rando calls to people and play jokes on them, and we would make funny voices and things, or call people randomly in a phone book, and then get on their nerves. Is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. Click. Dumb stuff. Yeah. Oh, Raggy.
I think Vincent, getting back on subject, I think Vincent covered it quite well. If you are with a group of, like, it's your first game together, then be in contact out of the game as well, between sessions. Like, maybe chat together or get together if you can, and hang out of the game. That'll build synergy and learn how each other thinks. And
yeah, I mean, even as a despite the fact that I'm literally talking about this on a live stream with everyone, I had pretty severe anxiety in public, and just kind of forced myself to just be out there. I was pretty bad with a stuttering problem too, and I learned to just come up with different tools to help me out. Like even doing these live streams, it's kind of like I feel the little heart palpitations a little bit just before I hit the broadcast, and I've just promised, listen, just start and be awkward and just be out there and look foolish and idiotic and say dumb things and fumble my words and all that kind of stuff. We'll get past it. You know what I mean? Very much like like role playing's like it's like doing a movie or doing a improv or acting or something. You get one take at it. And is it awkward? Sure. Do people make mistakes? Yeah. Do the jokes fall flat? Yes. All that stuff. But yeah, it's yeah, Vince says very impressive, DBJ, very hard to overcome such fears. I don't know. Yes, but if I know that there are, if I get that energy from other people, it kind of helps me out, and so that's kind of how that's my motivation, right? It's like, it's not just me, it's not just about me, it's about everybody else. And if I could be an example, sure, why the hell not? If I can invite people in the group, fine. Here's your digital hug, man. Come on in. Come, you, yes, not you, but you, yes. You come on in. You're part of us. Lurk in the background if you want to. Say something if you want to. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the, what is it, like the top 10 fears? If you Google top 10 fears, like public anxieties, like way up there. There are people who would rather submit themselves to many other fears, like drownings and claustrophobia and darkness and spiders, than to be in public. Yeah, Vincent, who said, I think the key here is to fake it till you make it. You got that right. Yeah, that's pretty much. I'll maybe when I grow up, I'll probably figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, a YouTuber I watch uses that motto, fake it till you make it, because he keeps getting asked why he's always so positive on his videos and that, and he says, well, some days I'm not, but you just have to tell yourself in the morning that you're going to be positive about what's going to happen today, and then you will be. Some days that it's just too overpowering, the negative, but and for anxiety wise, recording, you don't want to know how long I'll spend on that cliffside, walking up and down before I finally get 10 minutes of video.
I've got a ton of videos where I've just like I used to record on a camera, and it's like I'm 5 minutes in and like, nope, do it again, nope, do it again, nope, do it again. And I got frustrated with myself. Like, I was just mad, like, what are you doing? Like, just make the video. Don't edit it, don't do anything, just keep going. And so like now, like this is kind of like my it's almost like my training regiment. Like, just go for it, just whatever happens, and just do it. And even like the the fake it till you make it thing, it's not even telling myself to do it, but it's more like it's I think we all have the problem that we are all so creative that we imagine far too many scenarios and how it could go wrong. It's like our combined brain power could probably get ourselves away with robbing the most secure banks in the world, but we'll never do it because we always know that how many things could go wrong. That's why dumb people commit crimes, because the smart people are just like, you know what, I see one scenario where we succeed, and I can see 200 scenarios where it fails. I'm not doing that. I'm not committing those crimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's those things. And I think sometimes our anxiety is combined with our creativity, because we know we can imagine scenarios where things go really wrong. And sometimes some of them can go really off the deep end. Like, what if I vomit on myself on stage? Or like, what if I pee? I know I just went to the bathroom, but I've got to pee again. And what if someone makes a joke? Or what if someone throws something at me? What if I trip and fall? What if one of the lights falls down and hits me in the head? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we're so used to coming up with the worst case scenarios for everyone else to deal with that we just kind of, when it comes to ourselves, we always think that the worst case scenario is going to happen.
Yeah. Alex C says, crowd silences, crickets chirp, voice in the head. Oh shit. Yeah, it's like you write something up, you're like, I got this great joke, it's gonna land, and everyone's just like, do. Oh, But yeah. So I think sometimes we, even when we role play, like, we expect in our heads, like, hey, I've got this great character, this really the thing happened. Oh, Scott Poe, you missed it. No. Let's go back, guys. Let's just start over. Okay, welcome everybody. It's RPG with DPJ. No, I'm just joking. But it's like it's almost like we have this idea of what we want, and you get to the table and you're like, man, my ranger is going to be this great badass, and I'm going to do these things in the game, and we're going to do this other thing. Yeah, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen. And we either we feel like we failed some kind of way and our character sucks, or we feel like this game sucks because my character didn't get to do this thing. And it's like, well, imagine making a blockbuster movie in one take. Like, that's literally role playing is just like a one take, fully, improvised, creative energy, and you don't get take backs. You don't get to film it again. You don't get to go back and put the CGI in. You don't get to do the stunt work over and over again, or spend months working on your 6-pack abs and learning lines and getting the color filtration right and having people do costume and makeup. Like we don't have that opportunity. We get one shot, boom. And is it funky and doesn't work out right and kind of clunky and I didn't get a chance to really shine this time? Yeah, it'll happen. Whatever. It's struggleable. All right. Next time it'll work out. What's the comedy show? It's a televised half-hour comedy show where it's all improvised. Is it Whose Line Is It Anyway? Anyway, that comedy show, at least airing here, it states it's like it's a show where sometimes the jokes land flat, sometimes they're funny, sometimes there's moments of brilliance, and the whole show is just like, here's some random things. You're a bunch of Vince says we got tons of this in Germany. Yeah, it's like, hey, you're newscasters and you have to report in the news. And here's a rubber chicken. Yeah, whose line is it anyway? Yep. Here's a rubber chicken and some cauliflower. Go. And you're just like, what? It's raining and here's a dirty sneaker. Go. And you have to come up with something. And of course, there's a little brilliance involved in it. And sometimes some things fall flat. Yeah, if it's they're very crickety. Like, or cringy. It happens. And that's going to happen at our tables too. So I think sometimes expectations can be high because our creativity is high. And then we get to the table and it's like, yeah, cringy. It depends a ton on the actual cast, which, hey, you get some really good improv people and ones who can really synergize with each other. They pick up the line from the next person. They go along with the joke. They know they're the butt of the joke that's coming up, but they go along with it anyway. And I'm not talking that we have to have jokes in our role playing. I'm just saying as an example of like helping somebody pick up that very heavy couch. You want to work with the other individual in terms of like, hey, I'm going to pick up the piece here. I see you're having trouble. I'm going to pick it up. And you don't have to ask me. We don't have to have a big, long conversation. Here, I'm just going to pick it up for you. Boom. Let me walk along while you think about what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that this week is about psionics. But I was like, what can we do for tips and tricks? And so this is kind of like outside the game, but it's like having us learn that weirdly ephemeral, hard to define thing of synergy and empathy and energy at the table. And for, I know you guys are already into it. And thanks RP, but I just thought maybe the larger group of role players out there could, get a little kick in the butt and go, oh, I didn't even think about that. Use that as a method of adding that into their games, maybe bringing it up with their players and their DM, and just learning to be part of the group and adding energy to the group because being a greater than the sum of its parts is really what we want to do. So I'm done talking. Go ahead, RP. Sign us out, man.
Yeah, well, I've been a RP gamer, and go subscribe to my channel, watch all my videos. There's not one today because I'm hoping to do Ramblings live later on tonight, and I'm also 1/3 of Power Games Publishing, and which has released Legat's Volume 1, which is currently out on PDF and what's the word? Print on demand.
Sorry, had to do a little plug for you.
And also, currently, the Kickstarter for Legat's Volume 2 succeeded, so we're currently working on that, getting that all cleaned up, ready to publish. And there's many other things on there which you can look at. I mean, come over at my channel because I've got the links to everything over there.
Yep. Yeah, support Power Gamers. Power Gamers was originally created to help people who have mental or physical disabilities engage in role playing across the entire spectrum, which I think is a really cool thing, man. Just really, I gotta give Jaron DM credit for putting himself out there. I'm sure he's gotten beat up quite a bit. But yeah, really great guy. And of course, you guys know me, part of Critical Hit, whatever. Everything else is down in the below the video in the doobly. Check everybody out. So thank you guys for letting me ramble a little bit. This one was a little disjointed as usual, but I think it's because it's kind of a subject that's hard to pin down. So I just wanted to give a little insight into it, let everybody have their say as well. Thanks, RP, and you guys. Thanks, Vince. Everybody else in the chat, Alex, Scott. Sorry you didn't get here enough time, but you're up hella early anyway, so get some coffee, man, or whatever, or hell, go back to sleep. Guys, thank you very much, and we are out.